Got you, your friends, your family, your kids, everyone sorted. Just grab a box and then enjoy. Treat yourself today to Puma Drinks, and trust me, you keep asking for more. It's a whole new vibe. Available at all major distribution points and wholesale at 13 Ghana City per pack and retail at 15 Ghana City per pack with 1 city 50 pesos grabbing you a bottle. For bulk purchase, please call 0262 351251. Another quality product from Casa Preco Company Limited and ISO certified company.
Wake up, nothing can hold us. Get up, born to wear the crown.
Maudada no pediani bianye dipa and the pe wo mo milk and a cocoa mo and mammy lumuda shima.
From Nestle.
Every I said to the Incatuimo, I just say a ye.
And noodles.com. You are taking your customer for granted. Change your attitude.
Consider the trotro mate. Are you wearing your mask even outside your trotro?
Of course.
Do you think I'm going to infect your words?
See, you pottery brain and dreamer. Yeah, that is the right thing to do. Do not say because they are my friends, colleagues, or relatives, so I can speak without a mask. Thanking you very much, Auntie Meli. COVID-19 is a real, and people are suffering. Me, I don't want to suffer. Prevention is better than a cure.
That is why I like eating here. There is always something good to learn. But don't let it remain here at noodles.com. Spread the word for more people to benefit.
Watch out for YFM's thrilling first ever radio drama series on COVID-19 as we seek to humor, entertain, demystify, and most importantly, educate you all on COVID-19 safety protocols. Remember, level up and wise up. This is an initiative of GMA BC and proudly sponsored by the Accra Mall and Ghana Tourism Authority.
Level up, 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 level up.
Life is always easy with technology. But hey, what comes to mind when you hear the word technology? Communication, products, services, or brands. How best have you utilized technology in the past months or adapted to the new normal? Brace yourself for interactive sessions with us this whole month. Stay tuned to GMABC in the month of April and let's get enlightened. Proudly sponsored by Shrink Company Limited and supported by AU Teledoctor. GMABC Tech Month. Be digitally smart.
Alrighty, now before we move back into the business for today, let me remind you that Joburg is the city that never sleeps. If you're looking forward to going out of Ghana to chill, you need a holiday destination out here in Africa, I recommend South Africa for you. There's great stuff to be explored out there. If you need a fashion central to shop from your favorite fashion shops in South Africa for you, is Joburg for you. Your nightlife, impeccable, man. You need that. Now, great news about all I'm telling you this morning is that you can revel in the high life of Joburg for 5 nights from as little as 8,200 Ghana cedis, which comes with flights, transfers, and of course meals. So get with that by simply logging on to www.southafrica.net to find out more information on how you can take advantage of these great deals. Plus, there are some more deals for you to explore. So look sharp, get on there, let's make it happen, okay? Moving on straight to business this morning. The hashtag still Y Leaderboard series. Shouts going out to Chocomo by Casa Preco for sponsoring this for us. For first-time listeners, Y Leaderboard series is YFM's innovative radio programming content that was created somewhere around a year ago to develop the youth and provide inspiration to all our listeners. Now, stats reveal that Ghana's population is young, with about 61% being 30 years and below. The ILO, that is International Labour Organization's Youth and Future Work of Service, shows that about 1/3 of the youth in emerging and developing countries like Ghana view their future work life with fear and uncertainty because there's not much to learn from. Now, YFM is Ghana's #1 youth and urban station. We have year-on-year dominance on radio, youth radio programming according to the Geopoll. Now, we therefore deemed it a big responsibility to add to the bouquet of creative and informative content on our station, a show that will host and bring leaders as well as achievers in various sectors and industries in Ghana and across in bringing hope to our youth, bringing meaning, development and leadership coaching tips to our vibrant listenership. Follow us on radio and across our digital platforms as well. So if you're here for greatness. Shouts going out to our Facebook viewers. Kindly click on the like and share. Let's share the video. Tell your friends why Leaderboard series is on. Moving on straight to my guest. this morning in line with our continuing objective to projecting women trailblazers in every field of endeavor. We started that last month throughout our International Women's Day month. Why Leaderboard series today explores the life and career of one of the most iconic, I repeat that, one of the most iconic women in the maritime industry here in Ghana. Now, she is a pioneering woman, seafarer, inspiring more women participation in the nautical area of the maritime industry. She's also a veteran mariner and retired lecturer at the Regional Maritime University. Captain Catherine Haizel is the Country Inspector of the International Transport Workers Federation and my guest on Why Leaderboard series today. So guys, join me, YFM stars, to welcome Captain Haizel. Now, I really have to commend you on your looks this morning. Is this like a part of the daily routine? You're supposed to always show up in your attire?
Not really.
Not really.
Thank you very much for having me on your show, and good morning to all the listeners. This is what we call our ceremonial dress.
Nice.
Okay. When we have important occasions and we wear this, and when the captain is coming into port, then he has to wear this to meet all the coming
guests
and people that need to visit the ship. Otherwise we have whites.
Okay.
We wear whites, and then a white top or khaki and a white top with our epaulets.
Wow. So how many pieces of these you have?
For this, you need only one.
You need
because
only
it's ceremonial.
Okay.
But the other ones, since you'll be using them on deck, doing all the routine jobs on deck, you need more than one.
Captain, how tedious is your job? Honestly, I've met people. I'm very interested in asking this question because I've met politicians, I've met doctors, I've met comedians, I've met sportsmen. This is my first time talking to a mariner. How tedious is your job? I'm afraid of seas, by the way.
It's very tedious, but just like any job, every job is tedious, but it has its own challenges which sets it apart from other jobs. But it's very tedious.
And you love it?
I loved it when I was at sea, yes.
Wow.
I really enjoyed it.
I really want us to go back to the grassroots, the genesis of Captain Haizel's life. Where did you grow up? How many years ago was this? When were you born, first and foremost?
As the saying goes, you don't ask a lady her age, but I've retired.
Okay.
From active work. That means I'm over 60.
Yes.
Yes. Actually, I'm 65.
Wow. Were you born here in Ghana?
Yes, I was born in Ghana, and I grew, most of my grown-up years was in the north of the country, because my father used to work with the Public Works Department.
Okay, PWD.
PWD that time. So, you know, these people, they move them a lot. So I grew up mostly in the north, Tamale, Bolga, and then Yendi, where the places I began my elementary education, basic education, as we call it these days. I began my basic education in the north, Tamale. We moved to Yendi. We didn't spend too long in Yendi, just about 6 months. Then we went to Olgatanga, where we spent 5 years, and then came down to Tamale for 12 years before we moved down south.
Wow.
So I spent.
How would you describe your early days, your childhood? Were they fun days, exciting?
It was very exciting because we were quite a large family. Unlike today, where family is usually 2-3 kids, maximum 4. We were 8, and we had another brother, and then we were in all 9. But 8 were with my father at any particular time.
And these were your siblings?
Yes, my siblings, 5 girls and 4 boys.
I can't really relate because I grew up in a family of 3. I mean, my siblings, 2 other ones. How was it like struggling for attention? You know, who gets what?
You see, those days, parents were not the kind of doting they used to give. They give kids these days. We didn't enjoy that, but it was fun because everybody. Our father and mother loved everybody, and were treated equally. And we had fun. We played so much. There weren't so many things to distract attention, like phones and TV. Up north, the TV programs, when you watch them down here, let's say on Monday, like we're having the program today, Wednesday, we'll get it in Tamale on Thursday. So it was always but we enjoyed it so much. It was black and white TV. We crowd around this very small TV, watching and kicking each other and enjoying. And there wasn't much program on the TV anyway. But one program we used to really cherish was the GBC band. GBC had a band, and then they would come and play. And there was this guy who had this what they call it Bodia, that sort of
was it?
Like the horse's tail.
Yes.
And then he will be whipping it and singing, and then we will be crazy just dancing along and so on.
And this was just once a while.
Once a while, you see. But that was all there was. Apart from the news, there wasn't much on the TV at that time. But the little that they showed, we really enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun.
Let's talk about your school days. Where did they all start for you? Describe your school days. How were days like comparing to now?
The elementary school, as I said, I started in Tamale. We went to Yendi and then to Bolga. Bolga, I did most of my primary education there. And then the upper primary, what we call the upper primary, that is from Form 1 to Form 4 when you start the living certificate exams. The days in Bolga was spent, I schooled at Zare Primary School.
Okay.
Zare, it was called Zare Primary School. That is where I schooled. And then when we came to Tamale, I schooled at Kalpohin, basic school. It was fun.
It was fun.
Very, very interesting. Because, as I said, we didn't have much to distract us, so we had time for each other. We could talk and play and everything. Today, people are not so bonding. They don't bond so
technology.
Easily. The technology is putting distance between people. People are not so friendly and chatty as we were.
We used to be.
I remember, for example, in Bolga, there were very few, at that time, there were very few people from the down south. So the few of us in down south, we lived in a particular area of the town. So when we close, you see all of us, we all go in a big group towards our homes, and as we reach the parting point, then you go and hit your friend and start running, and they'll chase you. So we're always having a lot of fun.
And these were fun days.
Yes, they really were.
So along the line, you had to switch, basically like move away from your homeland and go steady at St. Monica's.
Yes.
Is it the same Munche we all know?
That is the same Munche, but we don't want the name Munche. It's not Munche.
Do you have any idea how that Munche term even came about?
No, I wouldn't want to go in there.
But describe your days at St. Monica's. How was the transition like for you moving there?
It was a bit of a shock, because having been in such a big family where we were so close, and then you move out from your comfort zone in your home and go and meet different people. You don't know anything about. It wasn't easy, but just like anything else, within a short time you settle in and make new friends there. And I came from a school, a mixed school, okay? And then I come to an all-girls school. Initially, it was not easy for me. I found it a bit odd, because I'm the type who I'm a tomboy.
Yeah, I like to play with.
As a boy.
Play soccer and all that with the boys.
That is what I was good at. So I became a bit withdrawn initially, but later on I eased in and I fitted.
Do you remember your favorite subject back in senior high school?
Senior high school, I liked English literature, but I was a science student.
Wow. You loved, your interest was so much in reading, English literature, reading and all that.
Yes.
But you were a science student. Yes. And so how did that work?
Well, for up to the basic, the O level, I did the science, and I did also some of the art subjects like literature and so on.
On the side, but you took particular interest in those ones.
Yeah. So when I went to the sixth form, then I did science.
Did you play sports or anything on the side?
I was an athlete. I used to do long jump, basically. I wasn't good at running.
It wasn't really your thing. You just had to do it because you could. But you were not really good at it.
No, no.
Great. This one is just on the side. Did you have any nicknames back in senior high school?
No.
You didn't get any of that?
No, I didn't get any nicknames.
That leads me to ask, what kind of students were you? Were you the reserved? Were you the famous one?
No, I was reserved. I think I would say I was reserved. Yeah.
Okay.
People knew me, but I didn't know so many people.
You didn't know so many people. You were like, you just want to go to class and then finish and then go back. Yeah. Was it all because you were still not very used to being in an atmosphere where it's only girls, you know?
Not really. When I settled in initially, things went from up to the normal state of any student in school. But actually, that is my nature. Even at home, I wasn't the one who would be out there playing. I'd like to play amongst my siblings and so on. But I reserved a lot of time for reading and sewing. I also like sewing and gardening. These are my three hobbies: reading, sewing, gardening, and also traveling. I'm curious to know what is happening.
The traveling video, we all love it. The reading, do you have a fair idea of the number of books you've read so far?
I can't tell.
You can't tell?
Yes. By any opportunity,
you grab
any time I enter any premise, like if your place was big enough and you had a bookshelf or something, the moment I enter, I sit down,
just grab
something to read.
I realized when I was gathering my LPMs to read, you were just trying to stretch and see what I had on there. Don't worry, after the show, I'll just pass a few on to you so you can read. As a child, as a young girl growing up, attending St. Monica's, moving from the north to the Ashanti region to study, what was your main inspiration? What was pushing you? What kept you going?
Well, initially, I'd wanted to be, as a kid, I kept changing professions. First, I said I wanted to be a lawyer. Somewhere along the line, I changed. I wanted to be an air hostess. Somewhere along the line, I changed. But when I was in sixth form, I actually wanted to do medicine. That is why I did the science. I wanted to read medicine. But I saw an advert in the papers, and that is what drew my attention to the maritime field.
Maritime field. Okay. And through all that, what set of values enabled you to deal with the challenges that came with being a woman in a relatively male-dominated environment? You definitely had to pass some papers, you definitely had to make moves. You mentioned that you read this in the newspaper and it's something that you picked interest in, but before you even got in there, I'm sure there were not many women doing it.
Not at all. Even in Africa, they will say south of the Sahara, we were the first three female. There were three of us. Beatrice, Georgina, and myself were the first three women south of the Sahara to go into this field. And even in Europe, not many women go into the...
That is quite challenging.
Very, very challenging.
How did you deal with the challenges?
With life, any challenge that comes, you develop a way around it. You have to come to terms with it and see how best you can fit in. But it depends on also your character. You have to have that strong character to be able to take the jeering sometimes from the boys teasing and so on. You should be able to
get all that going. All right. Now this one is also from me. I grew up in Kumasi. And where we weren't very familiar with water bodies, okay? And so when I came to Accra, the seas were a bit still an issue for me. Yes, intimidating. When I get close to the Labadis and the rest, I feel some kind of way. You also grew up in the north and moved to Ashanti region to study. Didn't you have fear for water bodies? Wasn't that a factor?
Not really. Before I joined the sea, the only opportunity I had of coming close to the sea was when we had a nice experience of having a trip organized for us by our headmistress, one of our former headmistresses, and we went to Lome. And you wouldn't believe how we got that trip. We had been punished for being a naughty class. And we did the punishment so well that the headmistress was impressed. She said we had to scrub the assembly hall. And we agreed we were going to surprise the senior who had punished her. So we scrubbed it so well that when the headmistress was passing by, she saw the floor. She said, "Wow, I've never seen the floor like this since the building was put up." who did it? And they said Form 1A. I was in Form 1A. Those days we had only 2 streams, Form 1A and B. They said Form 1A. So she came to see us and promised us that if we were good children, we would. She would organize a trip out of Mampong for us. And then, lo and behold, she organized a trip for us to Lome, which was something that was reserved for only the 6th formers. So we were the envy of the school.
So the punishment had turned into a blessing for you guys.
Exactly, because of the zeal and the joy with which we did the punishment.
Wow. What were your expectations before you enrolled? Before I got into radio, I had a lot of expectations. I knew I'll get to a point where I'll meet stars, I'll meet great people like you. What were your expectations before you enrolled into the field?
Well, I didn't have much. I didn't have any, I would say, because all that I had come into contact with was just that advert in the newspapers. That was all. And I read the article. It was ladies going to sea in the U.S. Merchant Navy. So I read the article and said, wow, this must be interesting. You go to sea, you work in a ship, move from place to place, and as I've told you, I like traveling. So I said, well, then I go to places and see places like the little boy who went to Scotland to see what the situation was. So I'll get to see so many places and so on. So that was my motivation. I was keen on working on a ship, even though I didn't know what it entailed.
What it entailed, yes. But you were ready for anything.
I was ready for anything because it was adventure. And I love adventure.
But before you made this decision, what other opportunities were open for you? You were a science student. You clearly had made good grades.
If I had gone on to do the science, definitely I would have ended up doing medicine.
Okay.
Yes, that was my area. After medicine, which area I would specialize, I didn't have it.
Your parents knew how inclined you were in the sciences. Along the line, you decided, okay, you're going to go into maritime. What was their reaction? Were they supportive?
It was amazing because my father was the type who was a disciplinarian, but he wasn't imposing. That is, he wouldn't force you to do something you don't like. So when I said it, he said, why would you want to? I explained to him, said, okay, if that is what you want to do, fine.
Let's do it.
Yes. So he allowed me, but unfortunately, he didn't live to see me as a mariner. Because the day I was supposed to join the ship, I was supposed to travel out of Kumasi. That time we were in Kumasi to join the ship in Tema. He died on a Sunday. I was supposed to travel on a Monday, and he died on a Sunday. So he never
rest in perfect peace. Did you still go on to the trip? No.
Yes, but I went for permission to bury him, and then later on I joined the ship after 2 weeks after he had been buried.
Wow. But your mom still lived?
My mom lived on, but she's also passed.
She also passed, but at least she saw.
Oh, she saw me, and she was really.
Let's go a little bit more into your career. I mean, your seafaring career itself. After you took up the opportunity to train, I mean, you obviously had to get trained. For how long? How long was the training? Take us through it. I'm still lost.
In those days, when you went to it was called the Ghana Nautical College. Then now we are a regional maritime university.
Is it the one at Nungwa?
Yes, the one at Nungwa. Those days it was called the Ghana Nautical College because it belonged to only Ghana. Currently we have a membership of 5 countries. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So back then Ghanaians, and it was the company, the Black Star Line, the national shipping line, that picked us. And so they had to sponsor us. So the Black Star Line picked us and sponsored us. And we're doing only 1 year pre-sea course. That is to expose us to what to expect the maritime industry, what we were going to do. So it was only 1 year, and then you go on board and go on board as a cadet for 3.5 years before you could go and do your first certificate of competency. Our certificates, we call them certificates of competency. So you had to do the 1 year pre-sea, go on board for 3.5 years, and then you move on to do your certificate, and after that you come and sail, go back, and so on. You'll be going back and forth till you get your master's certificate.
So this is sort of like the seaside of our army and the rest, right?
Yes.
Similar. So you go through similar training.
Exactly. You go to. So when we went at first, I mean, for our training, we had a regimental side where they trained us to build. They tell you to build character. Okay. So every morning, as early as 4:30 you are woken up, and then you have to jog from RMU. I don't know. Do you know the Nungwa Road?
Yes, I know the Nungwa Road. Yes.
The beach road.
The beach road.
So you had to jog from that place to the railway crossing at Sakumono Lagoon and come back every morning. And not that it will end there. When you come back, you are now also going to do some
drills and all that.
So on. And then we had to learn how to march. I mean, in the mornings we have parades and do the flags and everything. And
is this army style?
Yes. It was. I understand even the earlier people, those who started with the Black Star Line initially in the 50s when Kwame Nkrumah set it up, they had to learn how to even shoot.
Is it?
They had to learn how to, they were taken to the ranges to learn how to shoot.
How to shoot rifles.
Time,
it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, didn't you get to a point where you felt, man, this is not for me? With all the training, you having to jog long hours.
At that time, no, I didn't.
You were still determined.
Because I was eager to go on board and see what was happening.
So you were ready to do whatever it is. Yes.
That is entailed in the mornings and the afternoons. Sometimes the drills that we had to go and do the learning how to march properly and so on. In the afternoons, hot afternoon, that is the military. They always have a way of doing things.
Yes.
You go in the hot afternoon in the sun and you'll be drilling. So that is what we had to do.
You still kept the fire blazing?
Yes, you had to keep going.
You mentioned a while ago that you were only 3 that were practicing at some point. When you got to training, were you guys still 3 or there were more ladies?
No. For our batch, that is, we went in 76 and came out 77. For our batch, we were only 3 girls. And in fact, after us, the next batch of girls who came in were 2, but they went to the radio side. We were with the nautical.
Okay, they were reading.
Radio officers.
Yeah.
Okay, but we were deck officers navigating.
So the radio bit were the ones that were on land communicating with?
Yes, those days, the way the system was on board the ship, we had to have what we call radio officers because they have to receive the communications, they had to learn the Morse code and transmit information from the ship to shore and receive information back. Because of the setup of the radio system in those days, you needed a specialized person to do that, an expert to do that.
This was you growing up, your formative years, at the point where people would usually make friends and build their connections and all that. You were in the maritime school training to get on sea or to experience what you so much eager for. Didn't you have to make any sacrifices? Did you lose friends? Communication?
Initially, yes. You lost touch with all of them, especially when we went to sea. You know, when we are in school, we are sort of a clique or a group. But when we part from school, secondary school to our various areas, you tend to lose contact. But at least for those of them who were ashore, they could make contact. But for me, I'll be away for so many months or a year, and then you come back. You don't know where anybody is. And so the little time you have, especially during our training time, we didn't have time at all. Even when you were an officer, you also have responsibilities. So not until you come on leave, then you don't have time. During the cadetship, you don't come on leave. You are on the whole 3.5 years straight.
3.5 years of training.
So the only time you come is when the ship is in port, and then you have some few days to rush to see family. So those days you couldn't really.
And this was in the case your family was up north.
No. We came down south.
Okay.
I said we came down south in when I was in Form 5. And we came down south.
Wow. So tell me about your first ship experience. I mean, the Black Star Line, obviously. The fleet, the first seaport you visited, and the role you were assigned to play.
As cadets, on board the ship, under training, what you are made to do is to go through the rudiments of knowing every area of the job. Okay, so we had to do deck work and then do bridge work also. Deck work entails maintaining the deck, chipping, painting on hides, painting alongside the ship, and painting on the deck. Any job that would keep the ship properly in shape. You know, a ship is a metal and it's in a very harsh environment with the sea salt and moisture, so it tends to rust quickly, and we have to ensure that that rusting does not proceed, or it proceeds at a very, very slow rate. And that is what most of the job was.
All right, so after you set sail, what was your first seaport you visited?
We visited Middlesbrough in UK, Northeast.
Wow.
And it's a very cold area. We got there, and going out was even a problem, even though it was supposed to be summer. You know, the British weather is so changeable. With the 1 minute it's hot, and the next minute it's either raining or it's so cold and windy you can hardly bear it. So we went to Middlesbrough, and that was my first port. And the captain that was on board was a British, and that was his home port too. It was quite interesting.
An interesting journey. So how does the system work in the maritime industry? I mean, we know for aviation and transport, I mean, you go through the borders, you have to present your passport and that before you get on land. How did it work for you guys?
On board the ship, when we get to any port, first you would stay at anchorage. In those days, most of the time the port health will come because you have to hoist some flags asking them to come on board, or you call them by the signal stations, VTS systems, and then they would give you that attention. So they will come and inspect the vessel to see whether the vessel is healthy. If there's anybody with any disease, then they have to isolate the person. Okay. Then when you come to port, the customs and the immigration would also come in. The customs mainly come in for rummaging, trying to see if there are any unwanted substances, I mean marijuana and other things, yes. And then to see that things are in order, just like you cross the customs border. And then the immigration would also come in to check the status of the crew. Okay, so we go through the same thing. In a
different manner.
Yes.
How do you cope with the long days and sometimes even months on the sea? What are some of the activities during the day?
You see, like some people used to ask, so at sea, do you stop the ship and everybody goes to sleep? No, we don't. We have a system of watch. So we change, just like we have shifts in some companies and organizations. We run shift in the watches. So you go on duty, go and perform your side, that is with the navigation of the ship. You go and perform your duty. It's every 4 hours. You go for 4 hours, come and rest 8 hours, and go back again. So, for example, if I go for watch in the morning at 4 a.m., I'll close at 8, and then go and rest. And then the next 4 p.m., I'll be back on watch. If I'm a day worker, that is, if I'm a watchkeeper doing navigational watch, if I'm a day worker, and then in the morning 8 o'clock, I'll go and work on the deck. As I said, we maintain the ship, paint, clean, we wash, and all those jobs pull bits apart. If there are some equipment that need repair, maintenance of some sort, you pull them apart, put them together, and so.
And so if there's an emergency,
it occupies you. You are missed throughout. And then when you get to port, then you have the counterpart where you're going to load the cargoes, and you have to be on watch whilst the cargo is being brought in and some taking out. Make sure everything is working properly. The gears we are using are working. The people are doing the work correctly. The cargoes are also in their correct forms. If, for example, I'm working and they are bringing in cargoes and I notice that some cargo is damaged, I would have to disallow it, and then either if it is something that they can recondition and bring back, yes, sometimes we have to reject it outright. You write your report about it. So we are kept busy all the time. It's not like there's any time. Of course, when you are off duty, then you have your free time and you spend it as you wish.
This is very, very interesting. And so one other question I want to find out, how does the salary system work, and what do seafarers, do you spend, how are you spending your money? Because you'll be out there for maybe 3 months on the sea alone.
No, not 3 months. There's no voyage that took 3 months.
Okay.
For example, moving from Accra, Tema to Europe was about 2 weeks. Around 2 weeks, depending on the state of the sea. Okay, so about 2 weeks, then you get to a port. And then you come back. It's only when you are doing very long passages, like you are moving from Africa all the way to Asia, might take you about 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the speed of the vessel. Okay, so that.
And so if you're on your way, let's say it takes you 3 weeks to get to Asia, and then you need 3 weeks to get back, right? And your salary comes. How do you even get it? How do you even touch it?
No, you could opt for the salary to be paid into your bank account, but those days, most of the time, we opted to collect it on board. So what happens is when you get to the port, the master will make the requisition to the port, and then when the agent for the company is coming, he'll bring the money, and then they'll pay you, and at that point you decide what you want to do with it. If you go for a jamboree in fine, or you decide to save it, or you decide to spend it somehow buying things to use for yourself and to sell.
In case of an emergency, let's say a crew member falls sick, what happens?
We have our own medical locker on the ship. Every ship has is supposed to have a medical locker, and then we have a makeshift doctor who is usually the second officer. Because during our training, we are given instructions in giving first aid. Okay, and the master has even a much greater job of knowing more what to do. But if the job becomes, or the illness becomes too severe, we have linkages with the shore. You can call in the shore medical team, and they will link you up. Internationally, that is the standard, their practice. So they will link you up. Even sometimes they can direct you to perform certain minor operations to help the people. But the second officer, as I said, he is in charge of the medical locker, and he has a time allocated when he's off duty, and he attends to people with minor things.
Thank you for that, Captain. So I also want to find out, if you set sail, let's say you leave Tema, and you're going to Middlesbrough, like you mentioned, is it a one route, or you navigate per the situation of the sea? Just as, okay, I know if I'm going to Burkina Faso, I use Accra, Kumasi, I use Sunyani, go to northern region, and then up there. Does it work like that in the system?
Yeah, we have charts.
Okay,
navigational charts. So before we even set off, the navigating officer, who is usually the second officer, will plot the courses. So you, for example, if you are going from even Tema to Takoradi, you plot your courses. Then from Takoradi to another, you pick what we call waypoints. Points along which you'll be altering course depending upon the coastline. And you know, shipping is most of shipping is concentrated within about 20 nautical miles from the sea, from the shoreline. So you have to pick your courses hugging more or less the shoreline, taking advantage of the usage of what we call a radar system. It's a system which can pick objects and so on. So when you are not too far off, you are able to navigate using the system, plotting your courses, and then following the system of checking. Because when we are on the bridge, the ship's bridge, where we navigate the ship, we call the ship's bridge. We have to be keeping track of what is happening. Otherwise, you find yourself sitting comfortably on the beach. So you have to track, because you can be pushed by the waves. The waves and the currents.
Wow, that sounds fun. I wish I could get the experience, for just one time, go beyond. I don't know if I can do it though.
Maybe you can see the Navy, the Navy, and ask for a trip from Tema to Takoradi one.
They will allow that, right?
I'm sure they can.
Wow. This is so interesting for me. I won't even lie. I've had questions about this for years, but the thing is who to talk to. And so now that I have the opportunity, it's all like I'm trying to just paint pictures and then, follow the experience through that. Captain, so with your training and that, I mean, you were with a lot of guys, a lot of men through training. Of course, on the ship, it sounded like there were not many women in your business. Were they supportive? Did they encourage you at certain points?
Most of them were very, very supportive, very friendly. You get, of course, in every town there will be a men's side, isn't it? There are some people who would not get along too well with you for one or two reasons. But generally, they were very, very supportive, very helpful.
I've heard the Black Star Line fleets for so many times, in the past. Since you're here and you're quite experienced in that, help us understand how important the Black Star Line fleet was in the development of this country and the sort of prestige it brought to the ordinary Ghanaian way back.
I think it was very good, a very good investment or should I say setup that the president had put in place. because you see, when you move your cargoes, it's in any ship, it's not for free. You have to pay to put it in, so that the government could use the Black Star Line ship and pay. Maybe they will pay the freight. In some cases, they will have to pay the freight, and then you carry your nation's exports and bring in your imports. So, apart from providing jobs for your nationals, then you also provide job ashore for the various companies working ashore, and it also had this image sort of thing. In those days, immediately after the independence of Africa, beginning with Ghana, of course, everybody wanted to have a shipping line, flying their own flag, and having their own officers on board, and it was a very prestigious sort of outlook, and people loved it. And when we went to places, sometimes you see the admiration on the faces of people. I remember our first trip to the U.S., for example, a TV station, we went to New York, a TV station came to film us, and, the ladies, the three of us, and then aired it on their televisions, nationwide. And then there was the black people there too. Couldn't imagine how happy they were to see us. They called somebody. So I remember I had even a family come pick me home just because I'm a black, not even a lady person, but even a black, because they couldn't believe that blacks could navigate a ship from Africa. to America. Only black. All the crew were black. There was no white person. And they were very, very amazed and felt very, very proud. You know how the blacks were suppressed in those times, and so they were very, very happy. We had a lot of them visiting, inviting people home, just to learn more, and also to make themselves feel that sense of belonging and a sense of worth. Because they were made to feel in some instances as if they were good for nothing. You understand? They were very, very happy.
You just described your experience from on sea from Accra or Ghana to the United States of America. Let's just backtrack this a little bit. In the history of black men, there was the slave trade.
Yes.
A bit of our past that has been on with us for forever. While you were on board the ship to America, what kind of reflections did you have? Did this ever cross your mind that our forefathers had to go through this in the...
No, it never crossed my mind. The only thing we could see, especially with some of the engineers, when you are crossing from Africa to America or across the oceans to most of these places, for days all you see is water. So I remember one of the engineers, he would come and ask me, are you people sure you're on the right track?
But how do you even know you're on the right track? We have bearings.
We have to fix. We use the stars and the moon and the sun. We take measurements, calculate, and then fix it, and we know where we are. Okay. So he'll come and ask, are you sure? He was so scared. He said, I'm afraid we are lost. I said, we are not lost.
Wow. Such a great experience.
Yes.
Now, what were some of the main challenges a female seafarer was most likely to face, and how does those challenges strengthen your resolve to succeed and make good impressions for other generations?
As I have said, the challenges are just like in any other job, especially where you have a job that is male dominated. The women go in, sometimes they are being inched out, and they have to stand their grounds. So you have to have a sense of integrity and also a toughness of some sort, and also you have to be morally upright to be able to stay on. Yes. So it was quite challenging, but
you jumped over the hurdles.
I remember we had, when we were at the Nautical College, we had a PE instructor. We used to call him Commander Oleno, and he taught us swimming, how to swim. And he had, when we were taking swimming notes, the opening sentence was, swimming is a challenge, and the overcoming of that challenge is character building. So and it stuck to me that anything in life is a challenge. But when you stick to it and you are able to overcome it, you build your character.
You build your character. Yeah. You become a better version of yourself.
Exactly.
Great. How did the eventual collapse of the Black Star line affect your career as well as the training of quality seafarers in the country?
Well, for me, actually, I left Black Star Line before the collapse, because when I started family, I started having children and I had to take care of my children. I decided to call it quits because I needed to be there for them. Yeah, but it has become a big challenge for us, even for the Regional Maritime University now, because without a source of a point where the cadets can be trained to become officers. You know, these days most shipping lines are privately owned by various companies, and they are not so keen on training the cadets because they think that the cadet is not worth so much to them. He's more of an expense to them. So they are not keen on training them, even though they like the officers who are trained cadets. They don't like the burden of training them. So if we had a national line, for example, or any form of shipping to train our cadets, I'm sure more people would like to go to sea. Because sometimes when they finish the training, they don't have a training. They finish the cadetship at the Regional Maritime University now. They don't have the avenue. And like in our times when the Black Star Line was there, in fact, before we even finished training, they had allocated us to our various ships. So it was very easy. You finish within in fact, when I finished, I was supposed to go on board, as I told you, and I lost my but you just
at least you know it's there.
Seamless transition. But these days, some people even give up. They don't go to sea at all. I know some people who have finished the training and they couldn't get ships to train to become officers, and so they had to give up, which is rather unfortunate.
So online, will it be right if I describe the situation like, okay, let's say national service personnel not getting placements?
Exactly, something like that. But you see, our placement is not like the national service where they can do it anywhere and later on pick their bags and they are off. Because here you have to be at a particular place where they are going to bring you through the training to equip you to become an officer. So it's very, very a disadvantage to the cadets we are training at the Regional Maritime University.
And to the country. Anyways, you mentioned family. Let's touch on a little bit of that. How challenging was it settling down eventually after all the years? And was it more convenient finding a partner on board a ship? Did you find a partner on the ship?
Finding a partner on the ship wouldn't have been a big problem, isn't it? Because we are
that's where we are.
Outnumbered by there are so many people around, you could say. So it depended on you whether you wanted a spouse from sea. So if you wanted, yes, why not? And I had my spouse from the ship, even though we didn't meet on the ship, but ashore, but he was a seaman also.
And were you guys ever posted on one ship?
No, you wouldn't. It's not
allowed.
It's not allowed.
Wow. How much did your career affect the family, looking at the frequency and duration of your travels overseas? How were you able to balance spending time with the family?
It wasn't easy in the sense that, I mean, you come home and you are leaving your family behind. That pain of not seeing them for some months and so on. The children will be crying. And that is one of the main reasons why I decided to leave quite early, because I couldn't bear the sight of them crying and they want to come with me, and it was really touching. So I had to come down and then take care of them. Full time, because looking at the fact that my husband too was also at sea, it wasn't a good thing for the two of us to do.
And so one had to sacrifice and come, but he kept on.
Yes.
Great.
Of course, men will not, they are not good at taking care of children, so it will always be the woman who sacrifices.
Wow. Do you see any of your children taking your career path? Do they have interest in that?
Unfortunately, for entry into the Regional Maritime University or the then Nautical, let me use the Nautical College at that time, you ought to have done A-level science.
Okay.
And none of the children took science. They all did arts. So they couldn't possibly go to sea.
But are they quite curious about your career, what you did? Do they ask questions?
Of course, they used to when they were younger, but now they are older, so they are not so. But they are keen. They are interested in what I do. Okay, they are very interested.
But now, as we speak, supportive. How involved are you in their lives with regards to what they do? They are in the arts. Do you help them in making decisions around?
Yeah. I do. I do, because I am a widely read person, so. Whatever they can.
You have experience with it, right?
I'll go and, even if I don't know, I'll go and look it up and come and challenge you on that.
I like that. Now, let's get back to, at what point did you decide to go back to academia and teach the next generation of seafarers? What was the main motivation?
When I came ashore at first to raise a family, I mean, after sending the kids to school, you are there, what are you doing? It's very, very boring. So I started something on the side those days when we had these comm centers. And so I started a computer school and a communication center.
The communication center?
Yes.
You go and pay and you go into the phone booth and
exactly,
wow.
Yeah. And then a school, a computer school to teach people how to use a computer. Okay. And once a friend who was then at the Regional Maritime Academy, you know, the Nautical College transitioned into an academy and then into a university. She said she needed somebody to replace her, and the boss then at that time, the principal said unless she got a replacement, he wouldn't release her. So she came to see me. I said, why not? And that is how I started in 1997.
How did your hands-on experience at sea enable you carry out your job teaching the young ones? I mean, you mentioned that now because we didn't have the Black Star Line, people didn't have a lot of practical experience as to what goes on, on the sea. Did yours give you an upper hand in teaching them?
Of course, it did. Because you see, even though it would have been advantageous to have a practical hands-on experience where the equipment are there, but if you have somebody who has used the equipment before and who has the experience, I'm sure the person will do a better job at trying to make you visualize what they are talking about, and the experiences that I share with them would give them that, inch ahead of somebody who is teaching
based
from
on
a purely
theory,
theoretical aspect. I
That's
think
nice.
It really helped me a lot. It does.
While you were getting trained, there were not much ladies in there. When you took on the new path with your educating younger ones to get into the field, were you consciously working on getting more women into the profession? Did you look out for that?
Honestly, I didn't.
You didn't?
But when the girls came there, I interacted with them, the few who came along from time to time. And there were very, very few anyway, because you don't have so many women opting for that. I don't know. I really can't tell whether they are not coming because they've not heard, or because of this fear of the sea and also sometimes parental involvement. Some parents will definitely say, no, there's no way I'm going to allow my girl child to do that. So we don't have so many women at sea.
In there. I think personally with my experience, on this job, and that I feel it's as a result of information out there. And so in the aviation field, in as much as that is extra scary as well, people get information on what people have to go through, the experiences, the benefits, the opportunities that are available, what people should expect, and that. I feel, just as I told you, I feel like when it comes to marine, there's not much out there. The info is sort of like reserved to a certain number of people. You know, back then, you even got the information in the newspaper. I barely see that these days. And so I think I'll blame it on that. It's something people, in as much as it's challenging, people will still want to do it. People know, okay, when I'm going into the army, I'll go for training for 6 months, and I'll do this and do that and pass, and then when I get the opportunity, I will be sent on a UN mission. All these information, I feel like when it comes to the maritime bit, information is a bit reserved.
I quite agree with you. I think we need to do more to attract people. But when I know I've been part of some educational fairs that have gone on in the past, and because of this COVID now, it seems to have
halted a bit.
But whenever they went to any region, you saw people were very keen. They came to ask questions and want to know more about it. But most of the time, that is all where it will end. They don't pursue them anymore. Maybe because they don't have enough information. But the Regional Maritime University does participate in some of these fairs, and they give out information. But still, some people would. They are still skeptical about how things are going to go. And then they just, when they get the opportunity, I get year in and out, I get people who tell me, oh, help me get admission. I go through all the trouble, and the last minute they back off when they get KNUSE and UMass and so on. They don't come back. Okay, so there's some information out there. But it looks like it's always the men who take advantage. The women are not coming.
Okay. All right, so I was going to wait till we get to the Ask segment and get questions from our listeners, but it looks like I might have to chip a few in. Messaging here from Bernard Atople, CEO of Bridewood Furniture, said, Rev, I read Marine 2, and now I'm doing carpentry because we didn't have enough info about the job opportunities after that. In relation to what he just asked, I want to find out what opportunities does Regional Maritime University offer young people in the shipping industry, and do you personally believe women have a better opportunity at surviving in the maritime industry here in Ghana and across Africa?
See, I need to set this record straight. The Maritime University has the responsibility of training the people for the jobs later on. Just like somebody will opt to go to a university and acquire a degree, after that you have to go and look for the ship. That is the unfortunate part. And because we do not have any real shipping business or shipping lines, national shipping lines, or some form of shipping lines that ply our coast, as to give training to them. This guy might have opted out to do carpentry because he couldn't get the training. The training is very, very important, because without the training, you cannot progress. That is a problem. So, for example, when I did my 3.5 years, then I went abroad. That time, the Nautical College was not doing the courses I needed to do for my certificate, my first certificate. So I had to go abroad. Okay, I did all my courses abroad anyway. So I had to go abroad. But now, a person going through the Regional Maritime University completes his degree, and he can't get the training. He can't get a ship to train him so that he can move on to go and sit the required exams to get his first certificate. Because as a cadet, I told you, a cadet, you are a cost to the shipping line. So they cannot keep you as a cadet forever. They would rather have you train, and then they will employ you as an officer in whatever category. So it's very, very crucial that they get the training. So when they don't get the training, then they can't get the best to train at.
In the past, you've lamented the use of outdated equipment in the training of students at the university. What amount of support does the institution need to be able to rub shoulders with some of the best around the world? I have friends who studied maritime in China, and when they come down, they obviously can't be matched with our students out here, because there's not much to really learn from. What kind of support do we need?
We need a lot of support in the training of these officers. And the government stands to benefit, or the nation, I won't say government, the nation stands to benefit. But it looks like we are not getting the needed attention. Because I'll take the example of Philippines. In the Philippines, they've encouraged that so much that what they do is to export seafarers. And because of the fact that they come there, they'll go and make the money, bring it, and it's a source of direct foreign exchange inflow, isn't it? So it will be beneficial for the government to come in and assist in acquiring equipment and also keeping them. You see, when sometimes we get organizations or both foreign and local organizations coming in to help. But that one touch help is not very helpful because maintaining those equipment is also needed.
We need something permanent.
It's something, exactly. So the government or the country needs to make concerted efforts at ensuring that the Regional Maritime University is their baby. They maintain it fully. And now I wouldn't call on only the government of Ghana. All the member states must make sure they chip in their bit to keep the university up to scratch. Okay.
And I mean, this is an action call to the government and
the various governments, the five governments.
Exactly, the stakeholders and that. Yeah. This is a very crucial thing. It must be done. Yeah. If we invest so much in our maritime training and training the right people to fill the job opportunities, the spaces out here, we'll get to a point where, as you said, we would have to export even some of our trainees outside to go fill shoes outside the country, and then of course they bring back money. They come and invest in our country, and we'll all move forward. I think a lot must be done. It's under which ministry? Transport. We'll have a conversation after this, by the way. Anyways, moving on. You are also a part of the International Transport Workers Federation, the ITF. Yeah. What is its mandate? What are some of the duties you guys are involved in?
The ITF is an umbrella organization for trade unions, transport trade unions. So they look at the transport sector of trade unions because you have so many trade unions. So what we do is to try to get governments and also companies and organizations who use human labor to give them a fair deal. You know, sometimes some of these workers are exploited. Overexploited. So we are the mouthpiece for these unions who have membership from the floor of the various enterprises and organizations. Okay. So that is what we do to try to make sure that they have some level of social recognition and right working conditions and right pay and so on.
So basically the voice.
We are the voice of the workers, the transport workers.
So who qualifies to join this federation, and what benefits do members enjoy apart from the backing that they have, the regulations in there, you coming in to ensure they are paid well and all that?
You just have to be a member of a trade union. Okay. You have to be a member of the trade union. I'm still a member of the Ghana Merchant Navy Officers Association, which is affiliated. All the trade unions, they are affiliated to the ITF, so just affiliated.
And you are also the country inspector?
Yes, I'm the country inspector for Ghana, for the ITF.
So let's break down your roles, your personal roles. What are you involved in? Is it the same, the umbrella roles the federation is involved in?
No, what I need to do as an inspector is to go on board ships, whether on my own or when some of the ship's crew call me because they have an issue, and I go to see how best we can resolve it. And then especially in terms of their working conditions, they have been treated fairly with food. You know, you wouldn't believe it. Sometimes some of the ship owners abandon the crew. They don't have food, water, even fuel to run the generators, and therefore no electricity,
first aid.
Yes.
All right.
And so when I go in there, we try to resolve these and get the ship owners to respond to their responsibilities. And also we try to get them to sign agreement, call them collective bargaining agreements, which ensure that the ship owners do not go below a certain level, and that is how we help them.
And so have you gotten to a point where you've had to maybe revoke the operating license of a ship because they were not treating staff well, the crew members? Does it get to that level?
Well, we don't have that mandate to do that, but we work also alongside with the maritime administrations of the various countries. So if, for example, for something that as grave as this, usually when the crew call me in and I go in there, I would maybe make take all the notes, come and talk to the maritime administration of what is happening, because they have the mandate backed by the government.
So you recommend and suggest, and then they will implement.
But I can also sometimes I deal directly with the ship owners and I say, this is not acceptable. You have to do the right thing. You've employed them, you've agreed to pay them so much, and therefore you have to, if you don't do it, then we'll take action. So.
Wow, that's beautiful. So we've learned so much today. One final thing I want to find out in relation to ITF is, how is the Federation looking to partner, or is it even looking to partner with young groups to help improve their lot and opportunities for them? Are they organizing training programs, any opportunities like that available?
They don't do that directly, but I know, for example, the ITF supports the Regional Maritime University. Sometimes when we need something, we go to them, they support us. So they don't directly try to bring the youth up that way, but they support any organization or setup that is doing it. Okay. But for the training that they do is basically for their own inspectors and workers. But when it comes to maybe the Regional Maritime University approaching ITF, we are in need of this. The ITF can support.
Can also step in. All right. So at this point, guys, I'm taking questions from you, 02022222073. Captain is in the building. Now, while we wait for Captain's questions from you, Captain, what do you do for fun if you're not working? And you're not reading, before you add reading to it, and you're not in your garden? What do you do for fun?
Really, as I told you, I like reading, gardening, and also sewing.
Sewing, okay.
Yeah, sometimes I make my own clothes, and then I also want to move out and see places.
Traveling.
Yes, traveling.
So if you're not traveling and you're not doing all these, okay, let me
last thing, if I'm not doing any of these things, I'm reading my Bible.
You're reading your Bible, okay. Okay, that's perfect. But do you love music?
Yes, I love music, but these days the kind of music.
You don't really.
I don't like them.
What are your favorites? What kind of songs do you like?
When I'm listening to Ghanaian music, I like the old ones that you could get something of worth from it. You could get
the ones that speak sense, right?
Yes, it makes sense. It inspires you. It builds you up in a way. So I like to listen to that. I also like classical music and jazz.
Do they play music on the ships?
Well, not everybody has his or her own cabin, so you can play there. But when we're on board, for example, the Accra River, sometimes we organize parties, we bring our instruments, and then...
You play live band and all that?
Yeah, not live band, but we play from our systems and dance and so on. You know, on board the ship, we have entertainment. We have music. We have some ships have karaoke instruments to listen to music. We have gymnastic gym equipment to work at. We have table tennis and so on. So it's not like we show films also, educational as well as other films. So you can entertain yourself somehow.
I was expecting questions, but I just got a very important contribution. This message just came in from Kwabena inside the Bronx, United States of America. He says the Black Star Line has its roots built in the abolishment of slavery and black independence, would connect to Marcus Garvey's idea of building a shipping line to transport freed black slaves back to Africa. The symbolism of the Black Star Line goes deeper, hence the reaction they had in the USA. I think he's trying to say the reaction you had when you got there was as a result of the symbolism of the Black Star Line. All right, so I have a question in here from Amaka. Let me quickly run through this. Amaka says, please, what are the requirements? I think Captain mentioned that already, but we'll still go right. What are the requirements if I want to join Marine? Joyce Amaka.
Yes, if you want to join and in the engineering or electrical or nautical, you need to do science. You need to do science and have maths, elective maths also. Okay, but if you come into the port and shipping or outside, then it's just a normal.
Just the normal ones. Captain, thank you so much for joining us. Before we go, what legacy do you want to leave on the minds, especially young women who come into contact with you and those from a distance? With all that you've experienced, with all that you've taught people, what legacy would you like to leave behind?
I look forward to more students or more people joining the sea, especially the ladies. I think they should shed off the fear of the sea, the fear of the unknown, and venture out into this area. You know, you didn't ask me, but the maritime industry is a very big industry. When people look at going to sea, they see it as just going to sea.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to go to sea, or even after sea, you go to sea and you want to come back ashore, there are so many other industries you can branch into. Okay, there's the operation side. You have the docks, dry docks. You can go to the ports. You can be a marine surveyor. You can be a marine engineer, engineering systems, not going to sea per se, but you do engineering systems, marine economist. There are so many areas, hydrographer.
These days things are changing. I mean, people who operate drones.
They have openings so that when you go to sea for a while and you want to settle ashore, you have openings where you can easily fit in.
And so it doesn't end.
It's not like you're going to end at going to sea and go and drop dead like we used to. In those days, you know, people stayed on board till they dropped dead. But today they get their certificate and within a short time they come ashore. There are places you can, avenues you can branch into. The only thing is sometimes you have to prepare yourself by taking some programs in those areas also to be well equipped for the kind of job you're going to.
There's been a lot of talk about bringing back the Black Star Line. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that if they want to bring the Black Star Line, it shouldn't be a totally government-owned setup. It should be a partnership with some company to set up the organization in a way that there wouldn't be too much government interference. The government can have part in it, that it shares in it, but they should leave the management to other people so that they can do it and do it well. Because the problem we have as managers in this country is, as you yourself know, it will not end up well. It will go down the same way the Black Star Line. You know, we have an example is the Ethiopian shipping line, which is the only African shipping line still sailing. And they adopted that strategy. They have the shipping line, but it's not managed by Ethiopians.
It's not managed by Ethiopians. Bring experienced people down, let them experience how things are here and manage it. Their experience. It will work. Final thing I want to find out from you, for young people, especially women aspiring to venture into seafaring, what would be your advice to them based on your enormous experience gathered over the years?
I would like to say that they shouldn't be afraid, because shipping, like any job, every job is difficult. There's no job you call anybody working, even the market woman sitting in the market. Yes, in your studio is difficult.
Very difficult.
Exactly. So some of you have to come to work at as early as 4 a.m. to sit behind the radio, close as late as 12 midnight and so on. So there's no job that is easy. It's just up here in the mind. You have to just make up your mind and then brace yourself for it, and it's doable. Okay, and the last thing I would like to make an appeal to the government to assist the Regional Maritime University with a traineeship, so that we can train our cadets and more people can take opportunity. The job, there's quite a wide field of opportunities for us as a country if we take maritime seriously.
Mr. President, we hope you get this info. We need it. We need a traineeship. We need it. We need it. Captain says we need one. It will help us. We need to move forward as a nation. We need to focus on that sector as well.
Yes, the maritime sector.
Maritime sector needs extra attention. I think we should be a call for action online. I'll talk to my team so we know how we can, go around this. But Captain, thank you so much for spending time with us. We've learned so much. You've really educated me personally. I've learned so much. I had a lot of questions around, maritime, but today they're all answered.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, we look forward to having you back sometime soon. And wish you the very best. In your endeavors. YFM, we hold the youth, and so in training and delivering the form of training that you want for young ones, in order to fill the various gaps in our maritime industry. If you ever need our help, our doors are always open. YFM Global Media Alliance, we're here to support people who are impacting the lives of the young ones, and we see you doing that as well. So we're always ready to support and help push the agenda forward. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Guys, so that was Captain Catherine Haizel, Wild Leaderboard Series. I enjoyed every bit of this. 0202222072. The show is not done. If you have any remarks, anything you'd like to add, kindly send it to me. Let's make it happen. Okay, shouts going out to Choco Malls by Casa Preco for powering us. Of course, this is the mid-morning on Y 107.9 FM.